The period that you began collecting was possibly the heyday for collectors.
Yeah. Mm.
Is there a difference now? Are government policies sort of helpful, or do you see them as being actively detrimental to both the collection and preservation of art objects within the country?
See, when I started collecting, I think perhaps it was at the right time when I started collecting, because the Art of India and Pakistan exhibition, which was exhibited in London in 47-48, had come back to India, and then it was displayed in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. I had the good fortune of meeting some of the persons who are responsible or were responsible for the formation of the National Museum in the country. That exhibition played a big role for establishing an art institution in the country, inspiring me personally in getting some of the art scholars together to promote art and that sort of fervor, like independence. It was this sort of atmosphere where I was born.
Was it like the setting up of a framework for
Yes,
art history in
yes, it
some ways?
started. And then because of that exhibition, people realized respect. Very few people knew about contribution of Kumar Swami and some of the early writings. The beautiful catalogue produced for that exhibition also inspired a new generation of art lovers and scholars. The third thing, just after independence, some of the states were abolished. So all these things together, one side people are willing to receive, but where are the objects?
Yes.
When the states were abolished, paintings from their attics, storehouses, because there was definitely economic crunch, the paintings started appearing in the market. Paintings of Rajasthan, Central India, or Punjab Hills, which were not available to even Kumar Swami in large numbers, now a large number of paintings started coming from 48, 49 to 64, 65, all the best groups, which I mentioned, which group came in the market in which year. When the Bundi paintings came, when this pahadi painting, the big groups came in the market, immediately they were absorbed, they were acquired by curator. There was tough competition. If you are buying this, the other person buys some of those series. So that sort of fervor was there. Everyone was just hunting paintings in India. Some, of course, foreign countries. But Indians were doing on a larger scale. There is a long concept that many things were smuggled out, it's all right. Suddenly, when the source of supply was drying out, and there were more collectors who were buying in the country, maybe 10% was going out. Unfortunately, the Antiquities Act was enforced. Because of, even I know in personal case, I had inspired at least 4 or 5 collectors who became a major collectors of Indian art. They were all frustrated. But I was not frustrated, but my own energies were diverted to buy textiles and these things. But I wish those collectors were not disappointed and shocked because of the Antique Act. That Antique Act, I would personally believe, it became a reason for smuggling more.
Right.
More things went out of the country when there was short supply of things. Many things went out of the country and the prices started rising up. The second big mistake was the government also stopped buying. National Museum didn't buy.
Yes. Why did that happen?
Salarjung, I don't know, it was a peculiar policy that you are not buying. Sometimes people had painting that told, I'll use the money after selling for the marriage of the daughter. Now he is compelled. So he needs money for that. He will find some wrong means. See, thieves and smugglers were always there in all periods, in all countries. Instead of trying to catch them, the fine collectors were penalized and
Yes.
disheartened.
Yes.
I think that's a wrong thing. Because of that, neither the collectors have benefited, nor the country has benefited in any way. Because of this fact, I think from personal experience I feel that this act has done more harm for preserving art in the country. You can't back all the paintings which have gone out, some of the bronzes which have gone out. Now a big department for which the government is spending. I think with that expenditure they could have acquired something. Yes, instead of doing this, say, from 76 onwards, roughly about 40 years, you could have saved more things. So, not saving the country, not allowing the museums to buy, all the Stalarjing museum and government museum, they are not buying. So, what would be the fate of these things?
If there were changes in the act that you would recommend,
Yeah, I suggest, I think they should encourage free trading in the country itself. Keep an eye. I mean, you catch things at the airport. Why penalize the collectors who are genuinely collecting and trying to save their money in the country? Eventually, the government also gets tax,
yes.
income tax, and these various things.
Yes.
So all these things, they are deprived of this income, but they are unnecessarily expending.
Yes.
I think this could be, and if possible, rectified.
Jagdish ji, you're from about 1951, when you came to Hyderabad with your late wife, Kamla ji. You've been collecting an amazing array of art objects. In 1976, you decided to bequeath this to the nation, and through the creation of a trust, which is now the Jagdish and Kamla Mittal Museum of Art. The reasons underlying this were clearly those of sharing this treasure.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
With
In fact, before that, in 1968, I had been to Germany and France. I found very small collections, even one single artist collection became a museum like temples. So well kept, with so much love and respect. I thought that the collection which I have assembled, which I love more than anything in my life,
yes,
should be properly taken care of. The collection will be useful for study, for posterity, and I thought I can give time to people to educate. With my limited income I can live, myself and Mrs. Mittal, the rest. The second thing was the fate of the famous collection of Abanindranath Tagore and Jagdish Tagore. They assembled a large collection of, say, about 1800 objects, very fine paintings and bronzes. It's between 1930 about there was third sort of crisis, financial crisis, and they decided to dispose of the collection. So when they wanted to sell it, no buyer. They wanted 4 lakhs of rupees only for that collection, which would be several crores today. Asit Haldar was a student of Abanindranath Tagore. Since he had become a government official, being a principal of the Lucknow School of Art, both Gagan Babu and Aban Babu, they started writing to him to help, to convince the minister to buy this collection 4 lakhs. It's going to happen, months, years, they passed. They were writing every week letter reminding what happened, but nothing happened in that time. After some years, Gagan Babu died of stroke. Abanindranath Tagore, very people know, almost become like he started doing carton and wood things instead of he stopped painting. These two things. If you read Pratap Pal's book of the collecting, which has recently been published in Marv, you get such a pathetic story about the collection. In their time it was not sold. After their death, the collection was bought for much less, I think 2-3 lakhs rupees, by the big industrialist Kasturbai, Lalbhai, that too with the influence of Krishna Hathi Singh, who was married in, Ahmedabad. So that's the fate. So I drawing all those, and some few paintings left in the Tagore family, their sons will give, getting a bottle to drink, one or two paintings, irrespective of what they are. So I didn't like that things I have collected with love, lot of pains, they should not be dissipated. So I decided to create a trust at the time when I was 51 years old, that it should be used for posterity. And I wanted to be close to the university. But I didn't approach the university. The vice chancellor of the university, Central University in Hyderabad, started meeting some of the trustees that we would take care of this. Professor Noor Hassan, education minister, also had come. So we gave 10 pages of terms and conditions for associating with the university, that you provide us a land and the rest will take care, because there were some patrons, philanthropists who wanted to give money first. Then those days things were very cheap. And Mrs. Morley, who was one of the most experienced museum curators of a national museum, she gave us details, the breakup, what should be the expenses for 10 pages. So with that, 4 years, no answer. But our trustees is, I think, a very important historic document for any trust.
Yes.
So well drafted.
Yes.
Because we took very good legal advice. Some of the best tax consultants and others helped. Is 26 pages of trust deed. The trustee does not provide giving away or parting with the ownership of the objects. After 4-5 years, when the vice chancellor came, I told, okay, let's have a meeting and find out what do we want, any amendments in that. You don't know, give the collection, we will run it. And I told Mr. Vice Chancellor, you are not an educated person, you are an educated person. We gave you a trust deed with all these conditions, I mean, doesn't fit, it was not meant, and you never even saw the collection, good or bad, whatever it is. And without seeing, you want to say you don't have a faculty, you don't have a museum where things would be kept like BHU.
Yes.
So we can't talk. At that time, some properties were very reasonably available. With one or two friends, we could have acquired that. And very central. Because of that 5 years gap, the property started going up and up. So I can't afford now to buy a property. There are certain industry who can give, they won't buy, and they won't give money for, even the Ministry of Culture gives funds for development of museum, but they won't give you money unless you have a land. So 30-40 lakhs sometimes they give every year. In 40 years I could have received lot of money for development. If you have one room, they can give you for another room. So it could have been set. But this is how we failed.
That is such a, because in that time, if you had acquired that land, then the setting up of a museum.
Oh, no, thanks. I mean, we could have done easily with some grants from the government, from some other sources. So then we thought that we are delaying, I mean, depriving the scholarly community from enjoying what we have, although every week some important art scholars, students have come and enjoyed also after for research or other purposes, but I realized that we are not being useful. In 2006, we decided to bring out catalogs of our museum books. So I'm happy that we have succeeded in bringing out 8 catalogs. They have been received with lot of respect all over the world. So now the people can study, do further research on any subject. We don't say that it is the last word. We have tried to do the best. But this provides basis or platform for further studies. Whether it's a Rajasthani painting catalog, Rajasthani drawings, Pahadi paintings, Pahadi drawings, Mughal, scroll painting, which we have like this. So I have got plans for doing 6-7 other catalogs. So let's hope I'll do, but my writing is very slow, because if I start a study on a subject, I go on maturing, go on adding information, and when I think the ideas are good enough, my research is presentable to people, then I do it. So now 2 or 3 subjects. One subject is Tirupati painting. It's not known at all to people.
Yes.
I've done for Telangana scroll paintings. Tirupati I saw in Bharat Kala 1 when I was there in 61. I realized this is a different type of painting. Then where else? Then South India. Then I found that certain ceremonies which are depicted there, in 2 years' time I realized they were done at Tirupati, so it must be Tirupati. That was the beginning of Tirupati. Once I was asked by Mr. L.N. Gupta, Education Secretary, to classify the paintings in the State Museum. There I found one whole group of paintings, more than 80, on the Ramayana, which was not known, that style was not known. So I told kids, it's very important, why don't we publish it? So then there was Andhra Pradesh Lalit Kala Academy, and a book on these Andhra paintings of the Ramayana was published. That is a work of about 1740-50, done in southern Andhra Pradesh. So like this, whenever I see something new, of course I go. In 68, when I went to Germany on a delegation, I went to Berlin, went to Hamburg. In one of the anthropological museums in Hamburg, I saw in a showcase a manuscript open. I told this is Southern Indian paintings. Then I asked the director, I think Mr. Van Pruner was there, that please give us 8 or 10 photographs of this. I'll write on that as an article for your journal. By chance there was the Kumar Swami seminar organized by Lalit Kala. So first time I presented a paper there in 1977. So then I wrote a longer article for the journal. So coming year I found the text is in Telugu. When the inscriptions were read, we found it mentioned name of 2 artists and date October 1758. So why this 1758 and how the manuscript is there? I started tracing the history. See, by that time there was a lot of problem with the British and French were rivals. They are competing for domination in the Deccan. And somehow the British army was more powerful by that time because Bussy was sacked out. So then the whole army entered via that, and that's the.
Jagdish, you've also been witness to succeeding generations of art historians. You've seen vast changes in art historical methodologies. You've recently collaborated with John Seiler, who has a very novel approach to studying miniature paintings, studying their value, for instance, through seals. Take us a little bit through this change in art historical scholarship. Where do you see it heading? What are the new areas that you would like studied? Are there some sources that you feel have remained unexplored?
Yes. There are 2 things, the art collecting and art writing. There are 2 things they have developed in a different way. I believe art collecting itself is a very creative process. Unless you do it that way, you may just repeat, there are collectors who acquire 17th century painting. There are collectors who acquire painting from particular theme. So actually they restrict their approach. Fortunately, scholars from different periods, different age groups, like the old generation, Khandalawala, Moti Chand, Vastuveswaran Agarwal, Rai Krishna Das, I knew from the beginning.
Yes.
Then the other generation of art collectors like Edwin Binet, Kerry Welch, Howard Hodgkin, Robert Skelton, William Archer, Mrs. Archer, Toby Falk, and all these people also have met.
Yes.
Now each one has inspired me, and I think different, especially among these. Kerry Welch was also a painter. I wanted to be a prime. His drawings are just fantastic.
I see.
His approach to look a work of art, whenever he took, I found, and it did inspire me. His enthusiasm for art was infectious. I mean, even for small things, he would jump like a child. So Hodgkin, in a different way, saw painting because he is a great modern painter. He has stayed with me 3 times. They look painting differently. I was also looking paintings in a different way, originally being a painter.
Yes.
So between 3 of us, Robert Skelton was a thorough scholar with very methodical study, but also good eye. So all these things combined together taught me approach to research, although I was not trained in any university, but it was self-taught style. But looking at painting, I inspired Kerry Welch. Kerry Welch inspired me. Hodgkin inspired me. I inspired. So it was a mutual give and take, give and take. So I think between us, we have proved that it's a very creative way. Don't go for periods. Don't limit yourself with a particular theme. Great work can be created in 17th century, even 18th century, even in 19th century, either at court or on the folk level.
Yes. That is the biggest lesson, really.
In 1964-62, I saw an article about so-called Pathan paintings. Though they are not Pathan, it was published in Times of India by Chilmal Gund from the Kelkar collection. Although he was trying to sell those paintings in Bombay, I came to know, no one was buying them. No one was buying them. But I was so much fascinated by these, I requested one dealer, can you help me to buy some of those? Mr. Kelkar came to Hyderabad to meet Badrishal Pitti, and he told Raja Sahab wants to buy, then he agreed to sell 5 of them. They are double-sided. They are the finest Pathan paintings anywhere, and I own 6 of them, double-sided. So how I separated, they were back to back, separated, they have become 2 paintings. So now 3 paintings become 6 paintings. They are the earliest. When I opened, I found it has a watermark 1835. So that 35, perhaps 2-3 years later it was done. The painting should have been done in about 1840. That gives basis for dating. And the earlier was, the colors used are different. The paper used is foreign made. All the indigenous colors, the indigo, cinnabar red, and all these colors are used, which are all traditional colors. Later on, end of the century, 1880, 1875, they started using foreign colors, French ultramarine and greens and things like this. Also dyes, which are used for dyeing cloth. So these things have made a change, but they couldn't ever achieve that quality. So with me and other persons, Hodgkin, others, they also acquired from 1 or 2. With them, 4 others started acquiring. Now, the so-called Pathan paintings, which were actually done at Pinguli in Singhdurg district near Goa, so they have become legends. There are a number of collectors who are trying to collect. There is a good group in the Kelkar Museum, Crafts Museum. All museums have India abroad.
But what an infectious spirit it must have been for all of you to sort of feed off each other. But collecting and scholarship, you were in the same, doing it at the same time. You were contemporaries.
Yes.
And the energy that must have been generated from this must have been
No,
tremendous.
so meeting these people, I can't remember if they are 2-3 days. Of course, for 7 days we were charged. So collecting these things, studying those things, studying what we discussed. We wanted to polish the information, add to that information. So these things did help me to go deeper.
If as opposed to this, were you part of the acquisition committee, say, for the National Museum? Was there a different atmosphere? Was this kind of excitement there, or was it
No, she differed from time to time in the National Museum. I will not like to comment or go into the details. See, they were the old timers like Khandalawala or Rai Krishna. The others from modern generation, Mulk Raj Anand and others, Dr. B.N. Goswami, Anand Krishna, and so on. Rai Sahab has overall very good eye, there is no doubt, undoubted. Khandalawala was very conservative. He had no idea the prices have gone up. When the prices in Delhi were 1000 rupees, still he would like to buy it for 200, and many people didn't sell. So that was a big loss. And Rai Sahab, when personal discussion in the evening, he would say, this man couldn't allow us to buy, it's a big loss, he is not understanding, he's still conservative. You see, he has to adjust with the times that the prices in the market, why should they sell less than that? So on, these things did, but in spite of that, because that was the only museum which was buying in a large scale, they have acquired large number of objects, but unfortunately, that group is not easily available for study. Either because of the quantity, or lack of staff, or lack of, I think, will to share with others. Three things.
And about art historical scholarship, do you think the methodologies have changed?
Methodologies have changed. But you see, in our time, it was not very expensive. With limited funds, we could go. Books were not very expensive. Now, the people who want to do art history, what is the incentive? Or who want to join museum, who want to be scholars, what is the incentive?
Yes.
There are not very good jobs in the museums because the good pay scales are not there.
Yes.
Then, of course, there was no IT when young generation of bright students could join. The people with equal or lesser qualification can earn 6 times more than job in the museum. So why should they come to the museum? If they want to do it personally, I think the city where they study or want to work should have a very good library. That facility is not available. So how to solve that? Unless the government provides good library facilities in important cities where these youngsters can pay, and give a cadre like ICS, Foreign Service, Forest Service, Postal Service. They must have a cadre, and the pay scale should be like the IAS people. So in what way they are less? By chance they appear for IAS, they get it. But I don't think any good scholar working on art is in any way less intellectually.
Yes, that's an important.
Yes. So that's why many people are frustrated. And since the living standards or living expenses have become very expensive, now your own family grudges, why are you wasting time on this? What is the incentive? You have no support from the family, you do something in art is not going to pay you. If you write, the magazines give you 200 rupees, 500 rupees. No one gives you good. In universities, if you give lectures, they give you 400, 300 rupees. So I never charge. 2 years before I was asked to deliver a lecture in Maulana Azad University. They have, I think, very good funds. They wanted to give me 800 rupees. You see, when I make transparencies, going to various places, making CDs of say 100 images, it must have cost me not. I'm not lecturing every day. So that itself has costed me more than that. And I told, give it to some student because, I mean, so when we organize lectures, we have organized so far 40 lectures by different scholars. Mrs. Archer has done, Robert Skelton has done, Milo Beach has done, Seiler has done. So like this, all the top scholars have spoken, but we see that they are properly, we take care of their stay, their plane fare in India, and then about 5 to 10,000 rupees, and a good dinner celebrating with the. So it comes to about 60,000 rupees per lecture.
Collective, yes, yes,
So I don't see why it's, even big institutions they have large amount at their disposal.
yes,
Salarjung Museum will give you 400 rupees. So why should people come? You
yes.
see, going in my car itself costs 200-300 rupees petrol. See, if they pay this way,
Yes.
and you think the art scholars are frustrated, actually you are creating a situation when you are not supporting. Even if the museums are not supportive to the art scholars, who will come to this field?
Yes. You have the Jagdish and Kamla Mittal Museum of Art with its limited resources
Yes.
has functioned like a point for the dissemination of knowledge. And you've done it in various forms.
Now I do it on the world class standard, although we have
Yes.
limited resources.
Yes.
But see, the use of those resources in a very limited, I mean, we can't organize lectures every month because we don't have a building and a hall. We have to request some institutions. Formerly, the principal of the staff of College of India was our trustee, so we could organize 8 or 10 lectures there. Then the Max Muller Bhavan was here, very close. It closed down. 8 or 10 lectures were organized in their hall. If L.V. Prasad Eye Institute is free, they have their own program, they can cancel at short notice if they have their program, but still we take risk. And so far we have not failed. So things like this we are begging and doing, but we provide the best possibilities of projection,
Yes.
best possible audience which we can afford to assemble. So give the best respect, and we see that lectures are properly used by the young generation. So this is what we are trying to do, to educate the local people. Otherwise you go on enjoying your books, enjoying your own collection, unless you distribute.
Yes.
Distributing gives you the maximum pleasure, whether it's knowledge, money.
Jagdishji, your generosity with knowledge is 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 something that we've all benefited from. Over informal sessions, you have loaned your collections for exhibitions both in India and abroad. Scholars have come here,
Yes.
and you've given freely of your time and energy to discussing every nuance of art history with them, and through this the field has really grown. So there's an investment in making the field really grow.
Yes, it is
through this.
investment, I believe.
Yes.
See, for example, our museum first time lent for the Festival of India in London. Robert Skelton had come with Linda Leach. The selection of about 40 objects was over by 10 o'clock. Then I told Robert, being a good friend, I told, now let's do something else. So what else? The other things which we are not selecting. Up to 2 o'clock I sat with him, enjoying. So I enjoy it, so
Yes.
that he is not coming every day.
Yes.
Second thing, I am very conscious that a scholar, Robert Skelton, or a scholar from Delhi comes to the city. He is spending for the hotel and other expenses. I can't see like Salarjung Museum, the museum closed.
Yes.
If you are in a mood, you can't stop halfway. I try to be as cooperative, long hours of sitting, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, so instead of 2 days, I make it 1 day. In that process, not that I am educating that, I believe that I am also learning and getting inspired. So there are two things. So see how you look at life,
Yes.
how you solve the problem.
For you, there are also life stories in the enjoyment, in the pursuit of
Yes.
the arts. You do believe that just the contemplation of the art is a subliminal process,
Yes.
and it takes you out from a lower state of engagement with the world to a much more creative zone.
Yes.
And that is the source of your energy and of your zeal and your passion. Tell us a little more about how, whether it's music, you are also you are, your involvement with the arts has been multidimensional.
Oh, multicolor, that's right. I think you hit
It,
it right.
whether it is restoring an art object,
Uh-huh.
where you could be, we've heard stories
Mhm.
about you cradling
Mm.
a statue in your arms
Mm.
and sort of treating it with such care as if it
Mm.
were your child, holding it for arms, or photographing murals
Mm.
in a hot blistering sun, mindless of everything other than your relationship with this artwork in
Mm.
front of you. Um, you've also had you've had formal and informal betucks of music.
Yes.
You have
Mm. Mm.
you are you have a keen ear for music. Um, you have also been involved in, you've been a painter yourself. You've also been at the center of the contemporary art scene in Hyderabad, a
Yes.
city that you came to accept as your own, and which also
Yes.
welcomed you as
Yeah, they also
as a
are.
esteemed citizen of this city. You have also sort of it's your involvement with the arts and the craft and the technique and the love of the basic elements of art is so strong that you've inspired several artists
Yes, yes.
into directions, whether it's batik or whether it's different other techniques and so on. How some of it we know is also to do with your prodigious memory, your prodigious. There are details that you just remember. But surely it is also a passion that keeps this memory alive.
It's a passion.
Yeah. It is a passion also that you share
Yes.
with Kamlaji.
Oh yes, equal. Equal. I mean, I think those who have visited here, and personally I know, although she never wrote articles, but her aesthetic eye was so sure and confident that she could identify those things. If it is in your hand, the dealer is bringing, she will have a hand that you will write. So I know that she is supporting by, and sometimes if I had short of funds, which she had collected 50 rupees, 20 rupees, when it becomes 5,000, then she will be waiting what I get and I'll buy it. So this is the thing. What now I'll go back for my interest in music and literature. 1935-36 in Gorakhpur, where I used to study, when Sri Nayan Chaturvedi, who was inspector of schools in those days, himself a poet, organized a very large poetry conference in Kavi Sammelan. Bachchanji had come, Sumita Nandan Pant had come, near my house Mahadevi, the relatives were living, and like that many poets had come. So I had listened to all these things, and it was really very inspiring, including Bachchan's Madhwala. When, of course, I used to go to various music programs, even in Gorakhpur in 7th, 8th class. So beside small dramas, also I used to enjoy. Going to Dehradun, apart from my art, actually, I became very popular listener. So they want audience for poetry. Neeraj used to come, things like then there was Tagore Villa, occasional music concerts were organized there, and because of Sudhir Khastgir, I became part of the circle. I realized the difference in playing of tabla in Banaras and other places, and this more sort of flamboyant playing by the Bengali tabla players. So like this, of course, I went on enjoying. And one interesting thing that I was asked to enact as a poet. So I just dressed myself like Bachchan and took some bhang and I recited extempore lines from Madhubala. And, oh, that was so much appreciated. So I can't explain, but it's a very mischievous way. But Shantiniketan also, I used to sing Bengali music. I could speak like Bengali in those days. But very interesting people loved me. To go to various houses. But one thing in 46, I went to Kenduli, which was supposed to be the birthplace of their day. So I went at night, and three of us went on bullock cart. The whole night we listened to music. So many bowls were singing and things.
Oh.
And when Baul used to come to Kalabon, hostels he'll play, and we'll give him 2 hours, he would be happy. Ask him to stop, we'll do sketches and ask him to sing. So went to Kenduli. So 4 o'clock, what to where to sleep? There were no hotels. So I was always very mischievous. I mean, very popular also for that. So dozens of stories are there. So now how to find a place. So one of our friends, one was Kripal Singh Shekhawat, who became famous pottery maker in the Jaipur. One was Dikshit, my class fellow. He went and go and tell the Thakur, Jaipur he went. ये बसंतपुर ठाकुर छेले से उनके ठाकुर का बेटा आया है तो ठहरने के लिए। अरे साहब जल्दी जल्दी इंतजाम हो रहा है, खाना भी आ गया, और जब आपको आल बिस्तर बिछ गए, उनके बसंतपुर के ठाकुर साहब का बेटा आया है तो बेटा में आई एक्टेड लाइक करके जाके ठहर गए। तो शाम को थोड़ी देर के खाने के बाद जो सजा शुरू हुई तो जमींदार साहब बताइए हमारे छेले यानी बेटी ने हमारे, अभी तो साली बात बदल गई, तो क्यों वो बेटे से शादी की बात होनी शुरू हो गई। थोड़ी देर सोए, 5 बजे निकल भागे। ये सब
Jagdish ji, on a personal note,
हाँ, उसके बाद भी थोड़ी सी शांतिनिकेतन की लाइफ के बाद I came to Hyderabad. Badri Vishal was a very big patron of music. He used to pay very well to the musicians. The senior Dagar Bandhu came in 58 when I had constructed the house. He asked, let me do, my father gets disturbed with the noise, so we'll do it here. The Sheikh Dawood, the famous tabla player, was here. There was not so much of stuff, and the ragamala paintings I had displayed on the walls. And Jagat Sattva today let me sing to the heart. Up to 4:30 he sang. I'm a life member of the Music S2 association, I'm there. Often I'm asked to inaugurate these functions, preside over dance functions. I know many dancers in the city. So then, of course, I go to various poetry recitals also, always make it a point. Many poets, they know me in the city, and whenever outsiders come, of course, I'm invited to be the chief guest. I'm president of the Hindi Authors Association here. So my association this way, it gives me relief. It's not that, but it's changing the topic and just going and listening to music, listening to poetry. And this is how I get energy again.
Jagdish ji, of course, your contribution to the world of Indian art really has been honored. You've received awards and honors. The government of Andhra Pradesh has honored you with a lifetime award. You've also been the recipient of the Padma Shri. Apart from these formal honors, is there any other sort of recognition that you have enjoyed and cherished?
Cherished in the sense, 4 or 5 years before, I was honored by the Yudhveer Foundation. It's a foundation which gives 50,000 cash award. That was given to me in Kamlaji in 2006 or so. Before that, our Prime Minister had got it, and very eminent people, they are very careful. It is given by the famous journal, Hindi journal Milap. So I was very happy because suddenly I was asked that you are getting this time. A very eminent poet of Hyderabad, he wrote a poetry on that occasion. It was really remarkable. The second thing was, once a professor from Osmania University came, they said, वो आपकी बायोडाटा वो चाहिए, वो आपको वो एड्रेस चाहिए. किस लिए बोले, उन्हें स्वामी जी ने याद किया है.
Hmm.
Shivanand Swami, he was supposed to be the most, last year he died. His ashram, even the prime ministers and others, they had a very large following. And I found him very, very straight and brilliant. He had library at Vizag, Nazdik, Vimbipatam, then he has a branch here also. So Swamiji had asked, I thought perhaps they now realize that perhaps I can afford to give donation. I am being asked, I was very cautiously answering them. Then again they came, sir, we wanting more this detailment. Why? He told, you are being honored as eminent, which is an award this year. You see, you will never find such organized function, pin drop silence, very neat, and everyone going and touching feet of Swamiji. I could look to in his eyes, I found very clear. First time I met, I didn't touch his feet.